Oops. Hello, my loves. How you doing? Can you see me okay? Maybe if I... Oh, gosh. I'm trying to do something a little bit differently. How's that? Hey, beautifuls. How you doing? Hello, hello, hello from Sydney, Australia. Thank you for being here. I have a really, well, what I think is a really important and relevant video to do for you here today. This is cutting off my head, and then you see my ceiling. Okay, let me just sit down and get comfy. All right. So with the eclipse that we had on the 26th of December, it seems to have opened up a portal. It's like what I'm actually seeing right now as I'm talking to you is the sun moved into Capricorn and it came down like a chop, cutting that onion into half. There's no more layers. It's right down the middle, straight through the bullshit. And it opened up. So the veils fell and it opened up many cracks in all the different layers, obviously, of consciousness. And so this sun, this galactic energy, the planetary energies, the influences of our beloved guides are all streaming through at like full speed to help us transition as fast as possible into alignment, into our highest possible potential. All right. Before we start this transmission, and I've got lots of notes and lots of things to tell you, first, also let me say happy new year. This 2020 energy and where we are moving towards is astounding, astonishing, just such a miracle. I'm sure that there's been many generations that have said this, but this really feels special because it is the kind of alignment that hasn't happened on Earth before. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I want to mention to you really quickly that most of my lives will now be on YouTube. And the reason for this is when I do it on YouTube, I can actually share it on more platforms than if I just do it on Facebook or if I just do it on Instagram. I can also share it on my website and so on and so forth. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to do more lives on YouTube. I don't have many subscribers. I don't actually promote it all that much. I just like to use this facility to do this work now. This is what I'm guided to do, and this is where I'm guided to be. So this is what's going to happen. Feel free, please, to like, of course, to subscribe to this, to share it, so that we can then get these messages out to as many people as possible, to raise consciousness and to raise the collective vibration, the energetic vibration. The more people that begin to understand what's happening, the quicker this process is going to transition. The third thing that I want to mention is there's a really interesting, it's happened to me before, but there's a really interesting physical ascension symptom that is accompanying this energy. Some of it has to do with me being in Sydney, Australia. So obviously, most people around the world have heard about what's happening in Australia. It really is as bad as what they report. There's no doubt about it. Even today, this morning, as I speak, there's a bit of a breeze, so I've actually got my windows and doors open, but the air quality is really poor, like just really poor. There's lots of smoke in the air. Everything is kind of looking dusty and orange and kind of apocalyptic and anyway, thank you very, very much to those that that pray for us, that support us and hold us oh so lovingly as Australia goes through this very physical and obvious massive transition in undeniable transition and a rebirthing for everyone to see. This is like being in the birthing suite, and as much as you don't want to look, you can't help but look and learn and know that there is something really significant and extraordinary happening in this rebirthing rising of the phoenix kind of energy. As horrid as it looks to the human eye, of course. Okay, so back to the physical symptom. The physical symptom that I'm talking about is mucus, or mucousy substance that is being released by my body. So I'm talking about really phlegmy kind of back of the throat kind of mucus. And I've also had, and please, I sincerely apologize for the grossness of how this is going to sound and all of that sort of stuff, but there's a point in all of this. Conjunctivitis, so my eyes have even been seeking gunk. So I think what's happening is that as we are, or those of us, right, that are vessels for transmutation of this old energy, our body is working at its highest possible wisdom, as in the physical body. And it's using mucus. Wow. Mucus. Mucus to as it's being created and as it's coming up and out, what I'm actually seeing is like a wet cloth. It's actually, as it's coming through, it's the sticky nature of mucus is collecting with it all the dense, toxic, yucky, shitty, gross stuff and allowing it to come up and out. Yeah. So it's an ascension symptom, a transmutation byproduct of the highest possible physical intelligence. It's quite extraordinary. That's presenting itself, that my body is creating, because it knows that it can help itself in this way. Isn't that just extraordinary? That's kind of why I have no makeup. on me, so maybe, you know, kind of I look a little bit different to what I usually look. I might wear a bit of mascara actually, but that's about the only difference actually. So, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention because it's really quite extraordinary. So, you know, when I talk about the universe asking us to step into our highest possible wisdom, that includes all aspects. That includes our mind, our emotional body, our physical body, and our divine wisdom is all working together to help to really move this forward individually and collectively. So it's fantastic, as awful as it seems. Okay, so I'm just going to ring the bell 3 times as I pray. I'm going to take a moment and take a deep breath in. Thank you. Calling on the highest wisdom, highest protection by Mother, Father, God, by our beloved Gaia, Mother Nature, Ascended Masters, the angelic realms, the archangels, all of the galactic guides. Captain Ashtar, thank you for being here. Isis, beloved Isis and Osiris, also grace our presence here today. My goodness, the company we keep is quite extraordinary. And it feels like that's so interesting. Okay, so if you've seen Star Wars, and this is beloved Captain Ashtar, bless you. Oh my God, darling, you're showing me a fleet. So there's like a fleet of ships, and it all kind of resembles to my human visual and sense of making sense to myself in this human body. It's like the fleet of the big ships as you might see them in the film in Star Wars. The thing is that all the different ships as they come in, as they kind of zoom in through the portals, and they all stop, and they're kind of stationed just outside of the sphere of Earth, up in space, overlooking, amongst all the different planets, looking out for us. But each different ship that's coming in to support us in this transition that we've just begun, and the transition specifically, hiccups, really? Oh, you're acknowledging us as well. Thank you, my darling, precious. Okay. Specifically, the transition that I'm talking about, and I've spoken about this in previous videos, is this transition from the old patriarchal age of Pisces into this new age of Aquarius based on unity consciousness and with the foundations being this beautiful unification of the divine aspects of the feminine and the masculine energy. So divine feminine and divine masculine. But in order for this to happen, of course, we need to transcend the 3D mind matrix. We need to release ourselves from the 3D belief systems, those lower frequency belief systems that keep us chained to limitations. In order for our minds and our emotional body to expand, to evolve into a more crystalline structure within a physical vessel, and that way we can transcend in frequency and unify our consciousness on those 5D plus principles. Now, let me talk about this particular masculine energy healing, this particular aspect of the masculine energy healing. And I'll tell you really briefly, without too much information, what has been happening. So, in my world, this particular energy presented itself through almost everyone that I've been meeting over the last couple of weeks. So since around the eclipse time, right? So I had a fabulous Christmas. Our family Christmas was fascinating because I'd been estranged from my family of origin for, well, a few years now, since I really stepped into my journey. Nothing unusual, quite common. Once awakening happens, shit happens too. So, there's that cleansing. It's all good. It's no big deal. I won't go into that right now. I'm just cleansing the energy a little bit. Got a smudge stick here. Beautiful. Much of that learning had cleared and come full circle for me. And so I'd been, for the most part, 2019 for me was about closing those karmic cycles, just doing lots of that last releasing, right? So then in order to celebrate and honor all the work and the closing of the cycles and coming back to zero, I wanted to create a different kind of an energy, send the deepest and most grateful, most honest, sincere gratitude for that learning in this lifetime. So I had a family gathering and it was fantastic. It was the best Christmas we'd ever had. And to me, from my perspective, it was actually because we all actually wanted to be here. We all wanted to be here, hearts, minds open, and had a great time. It's amazing. You can actually really enjoy yourself with family. I know that there are families out there that do this regularly, but I'm just talking about Christmas out of obligation as opposed to because you actually want to be together. Really cool shit. But then the eclipse came in, totally different energy. It's like the unconditionally loving energy then turned into Huh, interesting. It did here in Australia, but I was going to say an ignition of fire that just illuminated all the shit that stands in the way of this being the case all the time. And so from about that point on, I've been met with this aspect of the masculine, old masculine program, old masculine energy and behavior. It's been driving me mad until finally the other day I sort of went, all right, it's time to sit with this. It keeps coming up. So there's a learning in this. It's trying to tell me something. It wants my attention. So here's the behavior. It's the masculine, specifically masculine, not feminine, but within a woman comes out as masculine behavior. And I will describe it for you. Arrogant, win at all cost, argumentative, you're wrong, I'm right, you're going to listen to me, and how dare you even have an opinion? How dare you challenge me? Self-centered, egocentric. I wrote some attributes down actually, so I'm going to read them to you. Egocentric, self-absorbed, dominant, controlling behavior. And because there's a sense of aggression, it's the kind of energy that's ready to go to war at any second. There's no, it's an energy you can't reason with. An energy that has to be right. Someone has to lose and they have to win. So this is a program, right, that is entrenched in the masculine energy. I kind of see Hulk. In the tarot, I sort of intuit the Emperor, the really unbalanced version of the Emperor. You know, Emperor in reverse, the immature, Emperor, the ruler that rules by enticing fear in everyone around them. You know, the fear mongering, the threatening, the aggressive. I keep hearing Hulk smash. Hulk smash. The Emperor card, of course, is represented by the astrological sign of Aries, which is ruled by planet Mars. It's a masculine energy. And so it makes sense that there would be this, you know, the Emperor in reverse is this really, it's a dictatorship. There is no reason, there is no compromise, that sort of energy. And so I've been in my, so I'm observing in my physical reality this energy coming through, you know, everyone that's around me, family members and people that are not family members, I'm overhearing. And then, you know, I see this in the world, of course, and it's terrible. In the past, the world, the individual, the feminine, the child is threatened, is ruled by this fear. It's less than. It agrees to play the role of less than within that patriarchal energy, within that masculine paradigm. But this is changing. But before I get to the change, I wrote something down that I think is really relevant. The old paradigm masculine. All right, let's start that again. So as this behavior kept coming through, being channeled, and then presented to me by just about everyone I was seeing, regardless, mostly by the masculine gender, by men, but also my son was channeling this behavior, but then also some women. It got me thinking. And I've learned over time that when something is really persistent, what that means is that my higher self is telling me that something needs to be acknowledged, that there is a lesson to be learned in this, that it's really important. So in stillness, of course, I call on my high priestess, my highest wisdom, divine wisdom, and I visualize myself in 0 point in that absolute unconditional observer position, so that I can receive the wisdom of what's being shown to me. And here's what I observed. This aspect of the old paradigm masculine energy has a collective, an individual, and therefore broader collective disability or program to respond to situations and to be empathic and compassionate first. Instead, the masculine is programmed to immediately respond with a mental evaluation to any situation that speaks. This program guides the brain, the thoughts and the feelings to immediately go into a war. How do I win? What's in it for me? Kind of pattern of behavior instantly. So this is the very first instinctual programmed response to anything that happens to the masculine energy, right? Most commonly, this is through the masculine expression. But of course, this is very much the case, and more so in the more modern times, with feminine energy that trained itself, programmed itself to believe that that's how they need to behave in order to win in life. Yeah. So there's that win aspect again. The feelings, the emotional body being activated, or an emotional body response or a heart-centered response, is very much, so I'm talking about empathy and compassion, being able to think of other people equally as much as yourself first, is for the most part not there at all. That empathic, compassionate response first is not first at all. Wow, let me try that again. The empathic, compassionate, impassionate response is very much secondary, and in many cases, not there at all, as in completely suppressed and shut down. Now, let me be very clear to you, because I don't want to have to read comments that are going to tell me that not men are all like this, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that the masculine energy or the male gender is incapable of being or feeling empathy and compassion at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that the program that is a first point reaction is not that. In the modern society, over the last few centuries, through this age of Pisces, the patriarchal world has programmed the masculine energy to respond with what's best for me. How do I win? I'm the boss. How do I win? What's in it for me? What do I have to do to make sure that I get one over you? If that means that I have to threaten, manipulate, be charming, cheat, hide, pretend, lie, all of those sorts of things, then that's what I will do. Wear a mask and be rightfully justified in doing so. And so I got this really clear message that the old paradigm masculine energy through the age of Pisces very rarely does it manifest in self for the good of all. It is perpetually programmed to manifest itself only for the good of self. It's very survivalistic. This rulership, very much fear-based, like I already said. Very low vibrational, completely survivalistic, strategic in that it exists only or primarily in the shadows of the mind matrix. So it's learned how to hide, how to exude influence from the darkness, from the shadows. How to be sneaky, how to pretend, how to say one thing and do something else. I mean, I even witnessed it with, what's happened with, for example, a family member opened a new business, there was an agreement, and, they were completely screwed. Anyway, this existing, so this program exists deep in the shadows, the unconscious shadows of the mind matrix, and it rules from there. It gains strength from enticing reactions of fear and intimidation, through manipulation, through control. Um, and it's very self-serving, very selfish. And so let me give you a couple of examples of how this may look like in your everyday world, because this is really important. You need to be able to recognize it in order to transmute it within yourself first. Yeah. So let's see. Friendships and relationships, for example. Have you ever had a relationship with someone or a friendship that goes something like this? They're your best friend and they ring you when they need something. Only. They have all the time in the world to talk to you over the phone or to go and do lunches, as long as you spend, or as long as they spend a lot of time talking about themselves. Or the kind of friend that, this could also be family and parents. This is something that happened with one of my parents just recently, where they were obviously wrong. They were trying to tell me something they have no experience or knowledge in. And they were adamant that they were right. And they wouldn't shut up being argumentative, and in fact started, yelling and, talking really loud at me and all of that sort of stuff. They had to be right, even when it was completely obvious that they had no idea what they were talking about. And they just looked stupid. But they couldn't give up their righteousness, their sense of they have to be right, even if they have to be aggressive and threatening. That tactic, how does it go? What's that saying? Attack is the best defense. That's part of this as well. Or with my son, when he was channeling this energy, I wasn't feeling very well one day because there were, I was exhausted and some ascension symptoms just were overwhelming. So I needed time to rest. But because it's school holidays here in Sydney, he insisted on having all of his friends over. And he was pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until I finally lost my shit. And then, of course, I screamed and I yelled and I carried on like a freaking idiot. And I set boundaries and, of course, but I pointed out to him how that lack, how just thinking about what he needs and that lack of compassion was not an appropriate behavior. And it's not something that we are going to encourage and overlook in this house, of course, because it's part and parcel, of course, of bringing this to his attention as well, so that these programs, not alive and kicking within this household, because we know better, and therefore we are applying that wisdom and that knowledge in our lives together. In business, of course, this can be, like I mentioned before, a family member had just recently opened a new business, and their business, part of taking a leap into it's not critical, but anyway, was an agreement with another party to collaborate for mutual reward, a win-win scenario. And of course, the other party decided to be sneaky behind my family member's back, and they went ahead and did something that was not in agreement. With no regard whatsoever to the collaboration agreement they had with my family member. This happens in business all the time, and you will hear this is like almost unquestionable. Is that the right word? People in business will say it's not personal, it's business. And apparently, because it's business, it makes it okay. Well, please understand that that does not exist in high vibrational planes, and all of this sort of stuff will change as we move through this decade. Globally, of course, I don't watch TV, but there is enough on social media, enough that spirit tells me spirit fills me in on what I need to know. Whatever I need to know comes to my attention. And of course, I'm aware of globally and locally here in Australia of leadership that is falling very, very, very short of leadership, because it's become so self-centered, so ego-centered, egocentric, that the community, the unity, the true meaning of leadership is for the most part lost. You definitely don't have to look too far to get a sense for what this energy is. So, what do we do with this knowledge then? If you watch this video and you are resonant with this message, if you can observe and think, identify within your own world aspects of this energy presenting themselves, then what now? Why is this coming up now? So I'm going to make a full circle and I'm going to say to you the following. In my experience, the way Spirit has taught me about transmutation and about releasing or being part of the team that releases the density of the 3D matrix in order to make room for more light, for more codes of light to come in to our little beautiful physical reality, is that when an energy or a behavior persists within my world, it's not there to hurt me, to piss me off, to put me down, for me to scream, shout, or suppress or run away from it. The wisdom of anything that comes into my reality is to show me. So something wants to acknowledge, for me to acknowledge it, that it's there. And then once it's acknowledged, then it can pass on the wisdom. It's like this. There you go. There's the wisdom of this. This is what we need you to do. Yeah? So if we are looking at this energy from the perspective of the observer, from the perspective that this energy has come, is being illuminated so strongly in our world right now, right? individually, collectively, and globally, then what do we do with this? What are the steps that we need to take in order to help this along, right? And I'm going to repeat myself, just a moment. The very first thing you must do if you are called to helping actively work on this energy, transmute this energy, is to recognize this aspect of the masculine energy within you. Is there an energy charge within you, right? So the first thing is you always go within. Is there an energy charge, a masculine, an old paradigm masculine program within you that says, you must win at something? You must win a conversation. You must win a perspective. Your opinion must be valued, blah, 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 blah. And you're ready to go to war over it. Something where, a point of view, something that gets triggered, where you can be argumentative and debate forever. Is there an energy within you that wants to control and manipulate others in order for you to feel better about yourself? We all have it. All of us, including myself. And it's not a matter of, I'm sorry, I'm a saint, I just don't have it. That just doesn't happen to me. Everybody in my world is just saintly and perfect. Please, you wouldn't be on this planet if that was the case. Come on. So our first job is to go within and identify that energy within us. But when we identify that energy within us, we become very clear of what that looks like in terms of human behavior. Yeah? It's number one, paramount. So that every time from this moment on, you are tempted to behave, or you observe that this behavior comes up and out, there's no room for judgment here. This is not about judging yourself. This is about being able to acknowledge, about recognition. Because once you recognize it, then you can go, this is how I've contributed to that program at large. This is my contribution to that load of shit over there. That really smelly load of shit over there. Because we all have masculine energy within us. And we live in this, we were born into this patriarchal program, this energy, so we all have it. This is not about blaming and shaming. This is about conscious awareness, waking up to what the hell is going on, being illuminated so that we can change what we don't like anymore. We can change what doesn't work for us anymore. So then, once you identify it, once you acknowledge it within you and within your behavior, then you can do the same with others around you. And why the hell would you want to do that? Well, you want to be able to observe it and see it in others so that you can choose not to engage in that energy. Don't engage in arguments that are ego-based, ego-centered. Oh my God. Oh, there we go. Just don't. Make a different choice. Yeah? And every time you make a different choice, you make a choice of compassion and empathy because you understand it for what it is. It's just a program. It's just a habitual response, societal habitual response, right? And when you can change it, then you are not contributing to that load of shit over there. And if you are not contributing to that load of shit over there, then those in power begin to lose their power. They begin to lose the energy that feeds their ego. Because the egocentric behavior requires others to feed it. That's why it's fear-based. It requires adoration. It requires bowing to. It requires applause. It requires to feed on fear in order for it to be satisfied and fulfilled. It requires others outside of itself because it can't feed itself. It can't be fulfilled within. It wants and needs to rule others outside of itself. So when we stop feeding it, when we stop giving it energy, everything changes. That structure collapses because it's got nothing to keep it standing up anymore. Yeah? So the way you would change this first is by conscious awareness and conscious acknowledgement, followed very closely by a great deal of unconditional forgiveness and knowing in your heart that this does not make you an evil son of a bitch, and there's no reason for you to persecute and judge yourself in crime against humanity or others. This is the paradigm that's been created. This is part of the essence and the foundations of that shadow mind matrix. And we're changing it. This is it. We're just coming to that time now where this is all being changed. Because we are moving more towards this unity consciousness. We are expanding our vision, we are expanding our hearts, and our divine self is therefore able to step forth more and be present and consciously accounted for within this creation and manifestation that we call a physical life. And it's beautiful. And the power we hold. Do you see from what I'm saying how powerful you are as an individual expression of that divine one, of source, of your essence? It's incredible. I don't know whether every single person or physical vessel on this planet is of God source, of God essence, of one essence. But I gotta tell you, it's pretty close. It's like billions of gods ascending masters that exist on this plane. It's extraordinary. So here's one more thing that I will ask you before I close up. Please understand again that the reason why this energy is being illuminated and it's wanting, or it was wanting so much to be acknowledged that it was presenting itself in just about every motherfucker I saw. I swear to God. Excuse my, it's my son. Bless him. I'm just going to tell him, there we go, there's the message, that I'm just doing a live, my precious darling. Okay, so give me 30, just doing a live. Love you, kiss. He's a beautiful, 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 really wise soul. Holy shit, seriously. All right, so like I was saying, this energy is really old patriarchal program has come forth into the light for us to acknowledge it, have awareness of it, because it's ready to be healed. It's ready to go. And even though those of us that have this program very much as the, I guess, the primary operating system, if you will, you know, in particular the older generations of men, the post World War II children is what I want to say. They are finding it terribly difficult to let go of this behavior, of this energy. Again, not because they don't want to, but it's like the world that they grew up in was very different. Just in this century, over the last 20 years, the divine feminine energy has re-emerged on this planet. My dad, for example, sees this with me. His relationship with me has changed exponentially because of the nature of the energy that I embody. And it's not like that he doesn't love me anymore. And it's not like he doesn't want to have a relationship with me because of it. And he doesn't appreciate it, because I actually know for a fact that he does. He loves being able to observe and see an empowered woman. Even my dad in the old paradigm can acknowledge that an empowered divine feminine is sexy as hell. The truth is that there's his got no idea how to have a relationship with this energy. He doesn't know how to step up to meet the divine feminine energy. So what he does, and seriously, bless my dad for being my teacher in this. You know, being the one that shows me that, you know, that acts out and shows me how this, what happens with for him. So what he then tries to do when he is met with the divine feminine embodiment is that he tries to assert his authority even more, because he thinks that he needs to do that in order to meet the divine feminine energy. He doesn't understand the dance between the feminine and the masculine. He's used to being the patriarch, the leader, the authoritarian, the disciplinary. What he says goes. And this is very much, I mean, if you have a look, you just got to have a look at industries, you got to have a look at governments, you have a look at, you know, families, you have a look at society, interaction, economies. It's all very directive. And much less collaborative. Even those that talk about democratic collaboration and equality, in my knowledge, for the most part, fail miserably at this. So we are still very much learning. We are still very much, and we will continue throughout this whole decade and God knows for how long, to learn how to implement this dance between the divine aspects of the feminine and masculine energy, so we can work it together in harmony and balance, in equality. Yeah. So from that perspective, again, the other thing that we must remember is a great deal of compassion, unconditional, unwavering compassion towards ourselves within and others as we take this transition, as we learn. So the time to hate on the masculine, it's gone. Done. We're going to close that karmic cycle and we're going to stop chucking a tantrum. We're going to stop blaming and shaming. And we're going to start being empowered. Where it's necessary to set a boundary and say no more, we do that. But we do that with conscious wisdom, hand in hand. And it'll be okay. There's enough conscious awareness on the planet now to move us forward. I want to say whether we like it or not. Slowly but surely, whether we like it or not. And I swear to you, I'm seeing an applause by the Ashtar command. This is a very important step in the evolution of human consciousness, in the evolution on the way we see what we have created unconsciously. This power struggle, this having to witness all the horrendous atrocities by government leaders and blah, blah, blah. One day soon, my loves, we are going to have, instead of politicians, we are going to have a council of light, whether it's per country, continent, or globally. We are going to move from self-centered, ego-centered, win-lose perspectives of the old paradigm into a more unity consciousness, old paradigm of politics into a much more unity, divine-based council of light kind of perspective where it's much more about win-win for the highest good of all. How? I guess we'll wait and see. But the fact that this is even within the consciousness, within my consciousness and many others on the planet, many light workers of the planet, despite what it looks like, there's a very good purpose for what all this shit show looks like. And we will do better. We will leave a different, more conscious, more heart, compassionate, divine-centered world for our children. Australia is rebirthing. So here we go, my loves. It's here. New world is here. It's really cool. Now, I want to say thank you to beloved Ashtar, to his command, to all the fleet ships around Gaia, Mother Earth, Mother, Father God, both energies being here to help us with these massive transitions now. This eclipse gateway is already open. It is through this eclipse that we are able to fully align with the highest vision for this planet. And as we anchor the highest vision for this planet, for Gaia, it is this vision that will propel all the changes, propel us to move forward so that we can be more in alignment with this vision. Amen. Whew, that just came in. I didn't see that coming. Thank you so much. Okay. I've created these cute little heartfulness cards, and they're about heart-centered attributes. This project is evolving as we speak, but I'm hoping that I will have a book and some cards published with regards to this in the next few months, so I'll keep you posted. In the meantime, this little prototype, which is very cute. Oh, here we go. I asked for a message. The first message that came out was synchronicity. And synchronicity being a coming together of situations and circumstances to create a perfect moment. My loves, pray, envision, and be present to your synchronicity, because this will guide you forward to the best possible outcome for you. And the next card that came out alongside of it was love. A beautiful heart-centered quality, of course, which is of strong feeling of deepest affection. Something you give to yourself. Fill your cup up, let it overflow, let your heart overflow. Do everything in your power to keep your cup overflowing every day, so that you then have lots to give. When your cup is overflowing, there is no challenges and no difficulties in being able to extend compassion to others. Yeah? But if you are not, if you're not able to extend love and compassion towards yourself, to make sure that your cup is filled, that you're rested, that you've got the right nutrition for you, the hydration, if you're not feeding your own heart and soul and your body and your mind in positive ways, then it's really a lot more challenging being able to give to anybody else. All right. And with that sentiment, I will say thank you so much for being here, for listening to this broadcast. If it resonates, please share it. It's really important that a lot of people understand, or begin to understand, begin to acknowledge what's happening, begin to acknowledge this aspect within themselves and with others, so we can begin to change this, heal this, release this, transmute this, dissolve and release. If you go to my website, diana.org, you will find services available, private mentoring, group mentoring and teaching, readings as well. So just let me know, write to me, contact me, and I will talk to you soon. There's a lot that Spirit wants to say, so I think that I'm going to be doing much more of this now. Okay, bye my loves. Mwah. Okay, finish this. There we go, end of stream.